raise your right hand.
Levante su mano derecha.
Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give this court on the matter
Testimonio
pending
que va a dar en este tribunal, en este asunto pendiente,
shall be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
va a ser la verdad con la verdad y nada más que la verdad bajo el amparo de Dios.
Sí.
Yes.
You may place your hand down,
Puede bajar su mano.
state your name for the record, and spell your name.
Diga su nombre para que conste en actas y deletréelo, por favor.
Mi nombre es Miguel Medina,
My name is Miguel Medina,
M-I-G-U-L-E, M-E-D-I-N-A.
it's Miguelmedina.
Good morning. You want to say Ms. Thompson? Good morning, Mr. Medina. How are you?
Buenos días, señor Medina, ¿cómo está usted?
Muy bien, gracias.
Very well, thank you.
I am Judge Letitia Dear Jackson, the judge over this case.
Yo soy la juez Jackson que está presidiendo en este caso.
You will be asked questions, and sometimes in our normal everyday language, we'll say or shake our heads, or nod our heads.
Se le van a hacer preguntas y nosotros en una conversación normal, en la vida normal, uno tiende a decir ajá o mover la cabeza.
If you find yourself doing that, if you will please remember to give a full answer of yes or no.
Si de repente usted dice algo así o hace algo así, trate de recordar que tiene que decir en voz alta o sí o no.
Because the gentleman sitting in front of you is the court reporter, and he is taking down everything that we say.
Porque este señor es el taquigrafista y él está escribiendo todo lo que nosotros decimos.
¿Está bien?
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Mr. Medina.
Buenos días, señor Medina.
Buenos días.
Good morning.
Where do you live? Not your address, but city and state.
¿Dónde es que vive usted? No su dirección exacta, pero en qué ciudad y en qué estado.
En la ciudad de Lawrenceville, en el condado de Gwinnett.
In the city of Lawrenceville in Gwinnett County.
Okay. Where were you living in March of 2015?
¿Dónde está viviendo usted en marzo del 2015?
En los apartamentos de Haight o Chambly.
In the apartments of the Heights of Chambly,
En el apartamento J2.
in apartment J2.
And how long had you lived at the Heights at Chambly Apartments in March of 2000, prior to March of 2015? How long had you lived there?
¿Cuánto tiempo había estado usted viviendo en los apartamentos de The Heights antes de marzo del 2015?
Alrededor de 4 o 5 años.
Between 4 and 5 years.
And what type of work do you currently do?
¿Y qué tipo de trabajo hace usted actualmente?
Heating, air conditioner.
Heating and air conditioning.
And were you doing heating and air conditioning work in March of 2015?
¿Y usted estaba haciendo trabajo de heating y aire acondicionado en marzo del 2015?
Sí.
Yes.
Okay. I want to direct your attention to March 9th of 2015. Did you get off of work early that day?
Entonces quisiera remontar al 9 de marzo del 2015. ¿Usted terminó de trabajar temprano ese día?
Temprano.
Early.
Do you remember why you got off early that day?
¿Y usted recuerda por qué salió temprano del trabajo ese día?
Sí, porque en marzo 9, pues la temperatura no es ni muy caliente ni muy frío, entonces no hay mucho trabajo.
Well, in March, like on March 9th, it's not real cold or real hot, so there wasn't a lot of work.
Okay. And when you got off early that day, did you go home?
¿Y cuando usted salió temprano ese día, fue para su casa?
Estaba yendo por mi apartamento.
I was going to my apartment, yes.
Okay. And you lived in apartment J2?
¿Y usted vivía en el apartamento J2?
Sí.
Yes.
Okay. And so you said a few moments ago that you had lived there 4 to 5 years prior to March of 2015. Were you familiar with the layout of the apartment complex?
Entonces usted dice que había vivido ahí 4 o 5 años antes de marzo del 2015. ¿Usted estaba familiarizado con con la forma que estaban organizados los edificios?
Claro, sí.
Of course, yes.
Now, when you were close to home that day, did you see a police car?
Cuando usted se acercó a su casa ese día, ¿usted vio un carro de la policía?
Yo vi el carro del policía cuando estaba en la avenida Chambly Tucker, un poco antes de entrar al complejo de apartamento.
I saw the police car on Chambly Tucker just a few minutes before it turned in. I turned into my apartment.
Okay. So you saw the police car on Chambly Tucker Road before you turned in?
Entonces usted vio el carro de la policía en Chambly Tucker Road antes de que usted entrara al complejo?
Exacto, sí.
Exactly, yes.
And what did you do when you saw the car? Did you follow it on into the apartment complex?
¿Y usted qué hizo cuando vio el carro? ¿Usted siguió detrás de él para entrar al complejo de apartamentos?
Yo seguí detrás de él porque ya la distancia para entrar al apartamento ya era corta, entonces seguí atrás de la policía.
I did follow behind him because the distance before the turn-in was very short, and so I pulled in behind him.
And what kind of car were you driving that day?
¿Y qué tipo de carro estaba manejando usted ese día?
Estaba manejando un Avalanche, Chevrolet Avalanche.
I was driving a Chevrolet Avalanche.
Is that
an Avalanche?
Is that a truck?
¿Eso es una camioneta?
Sí.
Yes, yes.
And once you turned into the apartment complex, where did you go?
Entonces, una vez que usted dobló al complejo de apartamentos, ¿a dónde se dirigió usted?
Yo vi que el carro de policía también dobló hacia los apartamentos. Yo estaba atrás, como a unos 20 pies, 25 pies, mi distancia.
Well, I saw the car pull into my apartment complex, and I was behind him. I was maybe 20, 25 feet behind him. Sí.
Al ver que el carro de policía entró a los apartamentos, pues yo iba atrás de él.
Well, and so when I saw the police car turn into the apartments, I was right behind him.
Para yo llegar a mi destino, el J2 tenía que dar la vuelta, tenía que ir hasta hacer como una vuelta en U en los apartamentos.
And so to get to my destination, which was J2, I had to make kind of a U-turn inside the apartments.
Okay. And when you first saw the police car, did you know why the officer was turning into your apartment complex? Did you know why he was there?
En un principio, cuando usted vio el carro de la policía, ¿usted sabía para qué venía él a su apartamento? ¿Usted sabía por qué él estaba ahí?
No sabía nada.
No, I didn't know anything.
Okay. And as you were following the car into the complex to get to your apartment, did you at some point in time figure out why he was there?
Entonces, mientras usted dobló detrás del policía y usted iba manejando hacia su apartamento, ¿en algún momento se dio cuenta por qué estaba él ahí?
Más o menos, desde que uno entra al complejo de apartamentos, más o menos como unos 50 pies, hay dos buildings que separan un apartamento de otro.
Perfect. Well, see, more or less, well, once you turn into the complex, about 50 feet down, more or less, there's this space that separates two buildings. Yeah.
En ese momento, cuando pasé ese espacio vacío de los dos apartamentos, vi hacia el lado de enfrente, de mi izquierda, que se veía los otros apartamentos y vi a Anthony desnudo en cuclillas.
And so when I drove by that space, that empty space that separates those two buildings, that's on the other side, like in front of my apartment, to my left, I looked to my left and I saw Anthony, and he was squatting down and he was naked.
Okay. Now you said that you saw Anthony. Did you know Anthony?
Ahora usted dice que usted vio a Anthony. ¿Usted lo conocía a Anthony?
Lo conocía.
How did you know him?
I knew him.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
¿Y cómo lo conocía?
O sea, no tenía un trato personal con él, pero sí lo conocía porque él paraba muchas veces en el parque con los niños, jugando con los niños, escuchando música y caminando por el complex.
Well, we weren't personal friends, but I just knew him because just from the complex, because he spent a lot of time either at the park, he would play with the kids, or he would listen to music. I'd see him walking in the complex.
Okay. So you saw him around?
O sea que usted lo había visto por ahí.
En ese tiempo tenía mis niños pequeños y siempre los llevaba al parque y siempre lo veía Anthony por ahí.
At that time, my kids were still young, and I would take them to the playground a lot, and I would always see Anthony out there.
Okay. So when you pulled into the apartment complex that day, you saw Anthony in the space in between those buildings. Is that correct?
Entonces,
Sí,
cuando usted entró al complejo ese día, en el espacio vacío entre los edificios, usted lo vio a Anthony desnudo, ¿es correcto?
Lo vi desnudo en el parqueo que pertenecía a otros apartamentos, a otro complex de los apartamentos del edificio. Ahí lo vi desnudo a él en
I saw him in the parking area that belonged to a different set of buildings. I saw him there squatting.
And was he naked?
¿Y estaba desnudo? Naked, yes.
And after you saw Anthony squatting naked, did you believe that that's why the police officer was there?
Entonces, una vez que usted lo vio a Anthony en cuclillas y desnudo, ¿usted pensó que por eso había venido la policía?
En ese momento recién supe por qué razón estaba el policía ahí.
That was when I realized why the police was there.
And did you continue to drive behind the police officer's car?
¿Y usted siguió manejando detrás del carro de la policía?
Sí.
Yes.
Okay. And where did well, let me ask you this. Did the police officer's car eventually come to a stop?
¿Y a dónde? Bueno, déjeme preguntarle esto. ¿Llegó un momento que el carro de la policía paró?
Sí.
Yes.
And did you bring your truck to a stop?
¿Y usted paró su camioneta?
También, sí.
Also, yes.
And when you brought your truck to a stop, were you behind the police officer's car?
¿Y cuando usted frenó su carro, usted estaba detrás del carro de la policía?
Detrás, sí.
Behind him, yes.
How far would you say you were behind the officer once his car stopped and you stopped your truck?
Entonces, ¿a qué distancia cree que estaba usted una vez que el carro de la policía paró y que usted paró su camioneta?
Entre 15 a 20 pies.
Between 15 and 20 feet.
And where did the police officer bring his car to a stop?
¿Y a dónde fue que frenó el carro de la policía?
Pasando el container de basura, hay como un rompemuelles, como unos topes. Pasando el dumpster de basura, hay unos rompemuelles y un poquito más adelante de los rompemuelles lo paró.
Well, it was near the garbage container. So close to that, there's these speed bumps, and so just past the speed bumps, close to the dumpster.
Okay. Thank you. Your Honor, may the witness step down.
Yes.
Eso, señoría, el testigo está pidiendo permiso para que usted vaya allá con ella. Pase por aquí.
Madam Interpreter, you need to move closer so that everyone can hear, and you are free to do that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Castillo, I'm sorry, Mr. Medina, I am going to hand you this marker. I want you to show, you don't have to write on it. I want you just explain to the jury when you pulled in, having seen a police car. I want you to show the jury well, first of all, are you familiar with this? Do you know what this is?
Bueno, yo le voy a dar este marcador, no tiene que escribir en este mapa, solo quiero que señale, pero entonces cuando usted, quiero que muestre dónde fue que entró usted, como cuando siguió al carro de la policía. Bueno, primero déjeme preguntarle esto. ¿Usted está familiarizado con este mapa? ¿Sabe lo que es?
Sí.
Yes.
Is this a map of the Heights at Shanley apartment complex where you used to live?
Este es un mapa de los complejos de the Heights at Chambly donde usted vivía antes.
Sí.
Yes.
So I want you to show, and I want you to pull it over, because I don't want you to block the jury.
Entonces no voy a correr porque no quiero que le bloquee la vista al jurado.
If you could stand over here.
Y si se puede parar de este lado.
Okay. Please show the jury on this map where you and the police officer turned into the apartment complex off of Chambly Tucker Road. If you can just show it the marker.
Entonces señale con el marcador, muestre al jurado por dónde fue que entró la policía y por dónde fue que usted entró con su camioneta detrás del policía en los apartamentos de the Heights at Chambly.
Desde que entré, desde el principio.
You mean from the beginning when I first pulled in?
Yes.
Sí.
Esta es la avenida Chambutaca.
This is Chambly Tucker Avenue.
Yo vi al policía más o menos desde acá,
I saw the policeman about right here.
que lo iba siguiendo al policía.
I was following the policeman
Porque yo ya iba a entrar también acá.
because I was gonna pull in here also.
Al ver que el policía entró a los complex,
And so when I saw that the policeman pulled into the complex,
pues yo seguí atrás del policía también.
I went in behind the policeman.
Porque mi destino mío era venir hasta acá, porque yo vivía en el J.
My destination was to come all the way around here because I lived in J.
So, iba siguiendo al policía,
So I was following the
Despacio.
policeman very slowly.
y acá hay una separación entre los dos edificios.
And here's the separation between the buildings.
Con mi camioneta Avalanche, que es un poco alta,
And so since my avalanche truck is a little kind of high,
vi a Anthony acá, en este parqueo.
I saw Anthony here in this parking lot.
Ahí fue donde yo me di cuenta de lo que se trataba.
That's when I realized what was going on.
Seguía siguiendo al policía.
I continued to follow the policeman.
Quería saber cómo se resolvió el caso.
I kind of wanted to see how the whole thing was going to play out.
Lo seguía siguiendo. Acá está el dumpster de basura.
And so I continued following him, and here's the garbage dumpster.
Lo seguí hasta acá.
I followed him to right here.
Acá fue donde el policía paró su carro.
And so here's where the policeman stopped his car.
Y yo paré detrás de él.
I stopped behind him,
Y Anthony estuvo acá.
and Anthony was right here.
So just so we're clear, you stopped your car right here.
Para que quede bien claro, usted paró su carro aquí, yes.
The police officer stopped his car right here.
Más o menos por acá.
El policía paró aquí más o menos, yes, there, more or less.
And at that time, you could see Anthony and he was here.
Y en ese momento se alcanzaba a ver a Anthony y él estaba aquí, yes.
In the parking lot in front of Building P.
En el parqueadero enfrente del edificio P.
Sí.
Yes.
And the officer was more or less in front of Building M.
Y el policía estaba más o menos enfrente del edificio M.
Sí.
Yes.
And you were a little further back on this curve.
Y usted estaba un poquito más atrás en esta curva.
Sí.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, you can have a seat.
Gracias. Puede tomar.
So, did you get out of your car your truck at that point? When you stopped on that curve, did you get out of the car?
Entonces usted en ese momento se bajó de su carro cuando usted estacionó en esa curva. ¿Usted se bajó de su camioneta?
No.
No.
What about at that moment when the officer stopped his car, did he get out?
Entonces en el momento que la gente paró el carro de él se bajó.
El policía bajó en ese momento.
The policeman got out at that time
Porque vio que Anthony venía corriendo hacia él.
because he could see that Anthony was running towards him.
Okay, so let me stop you for a moment.
Entonces déjeme pararlo un momentito.
When you stopped your car, as you came around the curve and you stopped your car, What was could you see Anthony?
Entonces, cuando usted hizo la curva, que usted paró su carro, ¿usted alcanzaba a verlo, Anthony?
Sí lo veía.
Yes, I could see him.
And what was he doing when
Yeah.
you turned that curve and stopped your car? What was Anthony doing?
Entonces, ¿él qué estaba haciendo? Cuando usted dio esa curva y paró su carro, ¿él qué estaba haciendo?
Anthony seguía en cuclillas, desnudo.
Anthony was still just squatting down naked.
Okay. So he was squatting.
O sea, que él estaba acuclillado.
Sí.
Yes.
Was he all the way on the ground or, well, describe how he was squatting. I don't want
Y
to
él
put words in my mouth.
estaba agachado hasta el suelo. Bueno, descríbame cómo estaba agachado él.
Estuvo en posición cuclillas, así. Así estuvo.
He was in a squatting position
Como arrodillado, pero
like this.
no con las rodillas en el suelo, estuvo así.
He was like kneeling down, squatting down. He didn't have his knees on the ground, but he was just like this.
Can you stand up and show us?
¿Usted se podría parar y mostrarnos?
Como que él estuviera sentado en sus propias piernas.
Like he was sitting on his own legs.
Okay. And for the record, the witness is off the witness stand and is squatting down, not quite touching the ground, maybe 2 feet off the ground.
Entonces, para que consten actas, el testigo se paró de su silla, se acuclilló y está agachado como a 2 pies del piso. No estaba en el piso del todo.
Okay. And so, what happened next? He was squatting on the ground. Did he at some point get off of the ground?
Entonces, luego qué pasó? Él estaba acuclillado así hacia el suelo. En algún momento él se levantó.
Por alguna razón, Anthony, yo pienso que giró su cabeza y vio el carro del policía.
Well, for some reason, Anthony, I think he must have turned his head and seen the policeman.
Y él en ese momento comenzó a correr hacia el carro del policía.
So at that moment, he started running towards the police car.
Okay. And how far would you say Anthony was away from, I know he was in front of Building P. How far away from the police vehicle was Anthony at the time he got up from squatting and started to run toward the police officer's
Entonces,
car?
¿a qué distancia estaba Anthony? Pues yo sé que usted dice que él estaba cerca del edificio P, pero más o menos ¿a qué distancia estaba Anthony cuando él se paró y empezó a correr? ¿Qué distancia estaba del carro de la policía?
Exactamente no puedo saber qué distancia, pero un aproximado entre unos 70, 80 pies,
I couldn't tell you exactly, but
90 pies, entre 70 y 90 pies.
if I had to estimate, maybe between 70 and 80 feet, maybe 90 feet.
And was the officer still in his car at the time Anthony got up from the squatting position and started to run?
Y el policía todavía estaba dentro de la patrulla cuando Anthony se levantó de su posición que estaba agachado y empezó a correr hacia el carro.
Anthony comenzó a correr hacia el policía. Claro, el policía estuvo dentro del carro y luego salió al ver que Anthony venía hacia él, hacia el carro del policía.
Well, Anthony started running towards a police car. The policeman was in his car, and when he saw Anthony had started running, he got out of his car.
Okay. When Anthony was running, could you see his arms?
Cuando Anthony estaba corriendo, ¿usted alcanzaba a ver sus brazos?
Sí,
Yes.
Could you see his hands?
¿Usted podía ver sus manos?
sí,
Yes.
Did he have anything in his hands?
¿Él tenía algo en sus manos?
no,
No.
Did he have any clothes on?
¿Él tenía alguna ropa puesta?
no.
No.
Did you hear him say anything?
¿Usted lo escuchó decir algo?
¿A Anthony?
You mean Anthony?
Yes.
Sí.
No,
No.
él no dijo nada.
No, he didn't say anything.
Okay. How was he running? Describe how he was running.
¿Y cómo estaba corriendo? Describa cómo estaba corriendo.
Él estaba corriendo como una persona desorientada. No digo que borracho ni digo que sana. Una persona desorientada.
Well, he was running kind of like a disoriented person, not exactly like he was drunk, but not like he was totally okay either. Just seemed disoriented.
Okay. Was he being aggressive?
Y se veía agresivo.
No se veía agresivo, pero corría como una persona desorientada.
He didn't seem aggressive. He just seemed he was running like a disoriented person.
Okay. Was he running very fast?
Estaba corriendo muy rápido.
Corría más o menos rápido, no lento, más o menos rápido, sí.
He was running a little bit fast, not real fast, but not slow. Yes.
Okay. And what happened after the officer got out of his car after Anthony started running, is that correct?
Luego, ¿qué pasó? Bueno, el agente de policía se bajó de su carro una vez que Anthony empezó a correr, ¿correcto?
Exacto.
Exactly.
And what did the officer do when he got out of his car?
¿Y qué hizo el agente cuando se bajó de su carro?
Anthony corría hacia él y cuando ya cuando el policía yo pienso que se dio cuenta de que venía hacia él, él sacó su arma.
Well, he was running towards him, and the policeman. Well, I think the policeman, when he saw that Anthony was running towards him, took out his gun.
Y más o menos entre unos 12 y 8 pies le dijo que parara 2 veces. Para.
And so between about 12 and maybe 8 feet, he told him to stop. He said it twice. Stop, stop.
Y
So,
Anthony,
wait, let me stop you for a second. So
Déjame pararlo ahí.
if I'm understanding correctly, when Anthony was 8 to 12 feet away, the officer said, stop, stop.
Entonces, para entender bien, cuando Anthony estaba entre 8 a 12 pies, el agente dijo 2 veces, para.
exacto.
Exactly.
And he was 8 to 12 feet away from where when the officer said, stop, stop?
Y él estaba de 8 a 12 pies de qué, cuando el agente le dijo, para.
Anthony estuvo más o menos del policía entre 8 a 12 pies.
Anthony was between 8 and 12 feet away from the policeman
Okay. When he yelled, stop, stop.
cuando él gritó, para.
Sí.
Yes.
Okay, then what happened next?
Luego, ¿qué pasó?
Inconscientemente Anthony corrió un poco más lento, pero no llegó a parar 100%.
Unconsciously, Anthony just started running slower, but not a whole lot slower.
Y más o menos como...
Wait, let me stop you. What do you mean unconsciously?
¿Qué significa, o sea, a qué se refiere inconscientemente?
Cuando, bueno, yo pienso que Anthony escuchó que le decían stop, stop y bajó un poco su velocidad y como él ya estaba cerca del policía, pienso que ya como que un poco disminuyó su velocidad.
Well, I think that Anthony heard the policeman yell, stop, and so he just reacted and just started running slower, and plus he was already getting close to the officer.
Okay. And what happened after Anthony got slower? What happened next?
¿Y qué
Or
pasó?
slowed down? What happened next?
¿Qué pasó una vez que Anthony bajó la velocidad? ¿Qué pasó luego?
Bajó la velocidad, pero seguía corriendo hacia el policía y el policía le dijo stop, stop 2 veces y al ver que pues no paró, el policía al ver que Anthony no paró 100%,
Well, he slowed down as he was getting closer, and the officer yelled at him twice, stop, stop. And then since he hadn't stopped completely, ¿qué pasó?
Y más o menos entre una distancia entre policía y Anthony, entre 6 a 8 pies, se le disparó.
And so, at a distance between Anthony and the officer of maybe 6 to 8 feet, he shot him.
So at the time that Anthony was shot by the officer, he was 6 to 8 feet away.
Entonces, en el momento que el policía le disparó a Anthony, él estaba como de 6 a 8 pies de distancia.
Menos, puede ser entre 5 o 6 pies, no fue a 8.
Maybe a little bit less, maybe between 5 to 6 feet, probably not 8.
Okay. And when the officer shot him, Anthony had slowed down at that point.
Entonces, cuando la gente le disparó a Anthony, él había bajado su velocidad en ese momento.
Un poco bajó la velocidad.
A little slower, yes.
And when the officer shot him, did the officer have his arm outstretched and his gun in his hand?
Y cuando la gente le disparó, él tenía su brazo así extendido con el arma en su mano.
Sí.
Yes.
And where were Anthony's arms and hands at the time he was shot by the officer?
¿Y a dónde estaban los brazos y las manos de Anthony cuando el agente le disparó?
Él estaba moviendo los brazos porque él no paró 100%, él seguía corriendo lentamente, pero seguía con los brazos en movimiento.
He was moving his arms because he was still running. He slowed down, but he never stopped completely, so he was just moving his arms, running.
Okay. But you could see his hands.
¿Pero usted podía ver sus manos?
Sí.
Yes.
And did he have anything in his hands?
¿Y tenía algo en sus manos?
No.
No.
And you were positioned behind the officer, is that correct?
Y usted estaba en una posición detrás de la gente, ¿correcto?
Detrás.
Behind.
Could you see the officer's face when he shot Anthony?
¿Usted podía ver la cara de la gente cuando le disparó a Anthony?
Después que le disparó, sí.
After he shot him, yes.
No, I understand, but at the time he shot Anthony and you were behind him, could you see the officer's face?
Sí, entiendo, pero en el momento que la agente de policía le disparó a Anthony, que usted estaba detrás de él, ¿usted pudo ver su cara?
Su cara no, porque yo estaba atrás de él, yo estaba atrás del policía, el policía salió y estaba de espaldas hacia mí.
No, because I was behind him. The police officer got out and when he shot him, he had his back towards me.
Okay. And he was facing Anthony.
Y estaba haciéndole frente, o sea, de cara a Anthony.
Yo de cara a Anthony porque él venía y el policía también de cara a Anthony, pero el policía era de espaldas conmigo.
Yeah, Anthony was facing me because he was coming my direction.
Okay.
And he was also facing the police officer, but the police officer had his back to me.
Okay. So is it fair to say if you could see Anthony's hands and arms, the officer could see his hands and arms?
Entonces sería correcto decir que si usted le alcanzaba a ver los brazos y las manos a Anthony, que el policía le podía ver los brazos y las manos a Anthony.
No, claro.
Of course, yes.
Was there anything obstructing the officer's view?
¿Había algo que le bloqueaba la vista al agente?
No.
No.
Was there anything obstructing your view?
¿Y había algún objeto que le bloqueara la vista suya?
No.
No.
Okay. Had Anthony, prior to being shot, I know he slowed down, could you hear him say anything? Did you hear him say anything?
Entonces, antes de que le dispararan, Anthony dijo algo, pues yo sé que él bajó la velocidad, pero ¿usted lo escuchó decir algo a Anthony?
Él no dijo nada.
He didn't say anything.
Okay. Your Honor, may the witness step down?
Yes.
Eso, señoría, el testigo puede pasar por aquí. Ella quiere que usted vaya por allá.
Where do you want him to?
If he could step here, if he could stand at the end of the witness box.
Sí, se puede hacer aquí, se puede aquí, por favor.
Now, you testified a few moments ago that when the officer shot Anthony, his arm was outstretched and he was holding a gun.
Usted testificó ahorita que cuando el agente le disparó a Anthony, que él tenía su brazo extendido con el arma en su mano.
Is that correct?
¿Es correcto? Yes.
Prior to him shooting Anthony, did you see the officer back, let me ask you this, was he standing near his patrol vehicle?
Entonces, antes de que la gente le disparara a Anthony, él retrocedió. Bueno, déjenme preguntarle esto. ¿El policía estaba parado al lado de su carro?
Sí, el policía estaba, claro.
Yes,
Un poco salí.
The policeman was standing by his car, a little bit away, but yes.
And did you at any point when the officer got out of his vehicle and extended his arm with his weapon, did you see the officer back up a little bit as Anthony was running toward him?
Entonces, en algún momento, cuando el policía se bajó del carro, extendió su brazo con el arma en su mano, ¿usted en algún momento lo vio al policía caminar hacia atrás?
Él,
If you can recall.
Si es que lo recuerda.
no me acuerdo exactamente.
I don't remember exactly.
Okay. And you said that when the officer shouted, "Stop, stop," Anthony was approximately 8 to 12 feet away. Is that correct?
Entonces, usted dice que cuando escuchó a la gente
That's not exactly
gritarle,
right, Ron. I asked her that.
gritarle a Anthony que estaba de 6 a 8 pies. Eso
No, we don't
no
answer.
no diga nada todavía. Me opongo, eso no fue lo que dijo.
What's your objection?
Well, he then corrected it in the very next answer, so.
At the time he yelled stop, he was 8 to 12 feet. At the time he shot, he was 5 to 6 feet.
Cuando lo escuchó gritar, usted dijo que cuando el policía gritó para, estaba de 8 a 12 pies. Entonces,
And let him know he can answer the question.
entonces ahora sí puede contestar la pregunta.
Sí, sí.
Yes, yes.
Because he shouted stop, stop before he shot, correct?
Porque él gritó para antes de disparar, ¿correcto?
Exacto.
Exactly.
So Anthony's 8 to 12 feet away. When the officer yells stop, stop, does he have his arm outstretched and his gun in his hand?
Entonces Anthony está de 8 a 12 pies. Cuando el policía grita para, él ya tenía su mano, su brazo extendido.
No me acuerdo exactamente, pero pienso que sí.
I don't remember exactly, but I think he did.
Okay. But certainly when he shot Anthony, he had his hand outstretched and his gun in it, in his
Pero-
hand, correct?
Pero por cierto, cuando le disparó, ahí sí tenía su brazo extendido y el arma en su mano, ¿correcto?
Exacto.
Exactly.
Please, can you demonstrate for the jury, because you were there, how Anthony, the manner in which Anthony was running toward the officer at the time, or excuse me, prior to the time the officer yelled, stop, stop. Show us.
Entonces, nos puede mostrar, porque usted estaba ahí y usted lo vio, nos puede mostrar la forma, cómo estaba corriendo Anthony antes de que el policía le gritara para.
Sí.
Yes,
Go ahead.
adelante.
Estuvo corriendo como una persona desorientada.
He was running like a disoriented person.
And when the officer yelled, stop, stop, and he slowed down, show us how Anthony was running or moving at the time he slowed down.
Entonces, cuando el policía le gritó para, muéstrenos de qué forma estaba corriendo Anthony cuando bajó la velocidad.
And before you do that, I want you to actually stop when you get to the distance that he was at when he was shot.
Entonces, antes de que nos muestre, quiero que usted pare en la distancia donde le dispararon a Anthony, donde él quedó impactado de bala.
Stop, stop. Stop, stop.
Pare.
And is that how he was moving at the time?
Sí,
Y
ahí
así
estaba
era
el
como
disparo.
se estaba moviendo.
Ahí, a esa distancia más o menos fue que le disparó, más o menos.
That's more or less where he was shot.
And is that more or less how he was moving at the time he was shot?
Y así es más o menos como se estaba moviendo en el momento que le dispararon.
Sí.
Yes.
Una persona desorientada.
Like a disoriented person.
And at that pace and at that speed?
Y a esa velocidad que iba usted ahorita.
Un poquito más, pero no, o sea, más, un poquito más, de repente.
Maybe a little bit more. Maybe
Okay.
a little bit more.
Show us. I want you to show us exactly how Anthony was running.
Quiero que nos muestre exactamente cómo estaba corriendo Anthony.
Stop. Is that exactly how he was running?
Pare. Así es exactamente cómo estaba
No,
corriendo
más o
él.
menos, claro.
More or less, yes, of course.
Okay. Thank you. You can have a seat.
Gracias. Puede tomar asiento.
And at the time that Anthony was shot, did he touch the officer?
En el momento que Anthony quedó impactado de bala, ¿él tocó a la gente?
No llegó a tocar al policía.
He never was able to touch him.
Did he punch the officer?
¿Él le golpeó a la gente?
No.
No.
Did he act like he was going to punch the officer?
¿Se veía como que quería darle un puño a la gente?
Was his hand in a fist?
Su mano,
Okay.
su mano estaba hecho como un puño. Espere, tiene que contestar primero la primera
And
pregunta.
if you will ask him for the prior question, if he will give an oral answer and then answer the second question.
Entonces, para la primera pregunta, por favor, conteste en voz alta y luego dé una respuesta a la segunda pregunta.
Does he
¿Cuál fue la
remember?
primera pregunta?
¿Usted recuerda la primera pregunta? What was the first
Did he
question?
act like he was going to hit the officer?
Él estaba actuando como que le iba a golpear a la gente.
Él corría hacia el policía. No sé lo que trataba de hacer. Él corría hacia el policía.
He was running towards the policeman. I don't know what he was trying to do. He was running towards the officer.
Okay. He didn't have, were his fists clenched?
Él tenía las manos cerradas como puños.
No le podría decir eso exactamente.
I couldn't tell you exactly.
Okay. Did he have a weapon?
¿Tenía un arma?
No.
No.
No knife, no gun,
Ni cuchillo, ni arma de fuego.
No.
no baseball bat,
No bate de béisbol.
No.
No.
no nunchucks?
No nunchucks. What is that?
It's fair to say he didn't have them if you don't
O
have them.
sea que si usted no sabe lo que es porque no los tenía, usted no los vio.
Oh, no.
No.
Okay. Now, after Anthony was shot, what happened next?
Después que Anthony quedó impactado de bala, luego ¿qué pasó?
Después que vi que el policía disparó a Anthony, pues Anthony cayó.
Well, after the policeman shot Anthony, Anthony fell,
Y vi como una reacción del policía,
and I saw a reaction from the policeman.
como
What kind of reaction?
¿Qué tipo de reacción?
como oh my God, ¿qué hice? O algo así.
Like, oh my God, what have I done? Something like that.
Did he appear to be panicked?
Él parecía entrar en pánico.
No en pánico, pero como que en ese momento, como que después de 2 segundos, como que se arrepintió o algo. Eso es lo que yo pude ver, más o menos.
Well, not exactly panic, but after about maybe like 2 seconds, like he was sorry.
Okay.
That's what I seem to see.
Después yo me di la vuelta y ya, no sé, me regresé por el mismo camino donde vine y de ahí no sé más.
And so I just turned around and went out the way I had come in, and then I didn't see anything else.
Okay. Why did you turn around and go?
Y usted no diga nada. ¿Y usted por qué se devolvió y se fue? Me opongo, no tiene nada que ver con el caso.
Correct. So tell him don't answer.
No responda todavía.
It is relevant, Your Honor. He's describing what he saw that day in his actions. He's telling the story about what occurred.
Sí
And the
tiene
question was, why did
relevancia.
you turn around and leave? And I think that's what Mr. Samuel's saying, is why is that relevant?
Your Honor, there's been a lot of testimony about what this officer did afterwards and how he may have felt elicited from witnesses. I want to know why this witness immediately thereafter seeing the shooting turned around and left. I believe it's relevant, like all of the other testimony that they've asked of witnesses about what happened after the shooting.
Para saber por qué él dio la vuelta e inmediatamente y se fue de escena. Entonces los abogados quieren hacer una conferencia con la juez, entonces no diga nada todavía.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you will excuse yourself to the jury room, for us to take up the matter, as I said, we are still on track, close to the time that I said with our 12-ish. But if you would just excuse yourself to return to the jury room. And then, if I can have the witness step down right into the holding room, please.
Entonces ven
we had a brief bench conference, but based off of the discussion that was happening at the bench conference, the court believes that it's best to have, the arguments placed on the record. Mr. Samuel, if you'll state your objection, and then Ms. Thomas, you can respond.
Sure. The question from the,
Mr. Baresi, can you close the door, please?
Your Honor, the question from the prosecutor was, did you leave? And the witnesses, we all know, in fact, turned his truck around and just left. And then the next question, I think, was something along the lines of, why did you leave? And based on his prior statements, including his deposition testimony, we expect the answer to be because I was afraid the policeman was going to shoot me too. I think that is an objectionable question. It is not relevant to any issue in this case. The witness should be limited to answering questions in general as to what did he see, feel, hear, taste, and smell. He is a fact witness as to what he observed. His state of mind is not relevant to any issue in this case. It could be because he doesn't trust white policemen in the Hispanic community. He doesn't know.
It could be he wanted to go get groceries. I mean, it could be.
Well, no, we know what his answer is going to be, is I was afraid he was going to shoot me. The question is, why did you think this policeman was going to shoot?
And that's from the deposition.
That's from the deposition. That's what his answer, we anticipate his answer is going to be, and I'm sure the ADA, reviewed it with him and anticipates that answer. That's why she asked the question, not because he needed to go get groceries. So, at the bench, the prosecutor said, well, it shows the state of mind of the witness. Well, the state of mind of the witness is not particularly interesting, frankly. It's interesting, but it's not probative of any issue in this case. Under that theory, we could bring back every witness who was there. Mr. Castillo, why didn't you run? Why didn't you, turn tail and run when you saw this? I wasn't scared. And then we could ask Mr. Echeverria, were you scared? Did you think the police was going to shoot you? Then we could start getting people off the balcony who were taking videos. Did you run into your room? We're trying to figure out what was going through Officer Olsen's mind, and to some extent, to the extent that it reflects on Officer Olsen's mind, what was going through Mr. Hill's mind. But nobody cares, frankly. I don't mean to be so exaggerated about it. What's going through the witness's mind after he's getting ready to leave? He can tell this jury what he observed. He can tell the jury what he saw about Officer Olsen. And what Officer Olsen does after the event is relevant, because it is probative of his state of mind, to some extent. This witness's fear that he's going to be the next one shot is, first of all, it's ridiculous. We know that Officer Olsen was not going around shooting witnesses. He didn't shoot Castillo. He didn't shoot Echeverria. He didn't start shooting up on the balcony of people. So it just leaves the false impression, all based on this witness's fear. I'm not saying the witness didn't have the fear. It was just irrational and irrelevant. So we ask you to exclude it, if nothing else, under Rule 403.
I think it is relevant, and I think it certainly goes to the reasonableness of the defendant's actions. This witness had the same vantage point as the defendant. He was behind the officer's car. He could see Anthony head on, how he was running. There was a lot of testimony elicited from witnesses by the defense about their impression of Anthony, their impression of the defendant after the shooting, the defendant appearing to be scared, whether or not, in their opinion, the officer was scared, about him going to the vehicle, getting his first aid kit, separating witnesses, all to show that he was perhaps remorseful and scared about what he had done and felt like he needed to do it and to go to the reasonableness of his actions in committing this crime. So I certainly think that this witness who observed this entire scenario from the officer's vantage point behind him, even to the point of seeing Anthony as he was driving in and pulling in behind him 15 to 20 feet in his truck, that it goes to the reasonableness of the defendant's actions. I believe, based on my conversations with the witness in preparation for trial and my review of the civil deposition, that he will say that he was afraid, and that he will say, that he didn't want the officer to know that he had seen what had occurred. So I think it's highly relevant. I believe it's highly probative to the issue of reasonableness. It was just something the jury has to consider. They must consider. And the probative value is not substantially outweighed by the danger of unfair prejudice, because that's the standard, not that it's prejudicial, that it's substantially outweighed by the danger of unfair prejudice, and we don't believe that it is. The jurors already know he shot him, and so I think it is highly relevant, and I would ask that the question be allowed and the witness be allowed to answer it.
So the purpose of relevant evidence is to show the existence of a fact to be more likely or not.
Right. And
Why does this go to more likely or not?
whether it was
To what fact?
whether it was more likely or not that he had to use deadly force to shoot Anthony.
But what the officer, or not the officer, what the witness, Mr. Medina, what he thought would happen next doesn't go towards the reasonableness of the officer.
The officer shooting an unarmed individual naked and shooting him, it certainly does go to his state of, oh, he might shoot me. That's unreasonable. He shot this man who's coming at him with no weapons, no clothes on, no ability to harm him. He shoots him. That's unreasonable. He may shoot me. Let me turn around and leave.
And he also testified that he was running at him just in a somewhat disoriented manner.
Yes.
And there's no testimony that he believed that he was disoriented. I don't think it's relevant. I think the answer that he gave of what happened next after the shooting, he said after that he left and he didn't see anything else. But why he left, I don't believe is relevant. I believe it's more prejudicial and probative than I am.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. We can bring the jury back.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
You can come on up, and then I'll have him come around on the system of accessibility.
He's at one of the conference rooms.
He can come on back up, yes. You all right?
May I proceed, Your Honor? Mr. Medina, you indicated that you left after you saw the shooting. Did you leave fast or slow?
El señor Medina, usted dijo que se había ido de la escena después del disparo. No diga nada todavía. ¿Usted se fue rápido o despacio? Me opongo, no responda todavía. Me opongo basado en que no tiene relevancia.
All right.
Your Honor, it's relevant to the events that occurred that day and his perception and actually what he did. He just testified about seeing the shooting, what he did immediately thereafter, and how he did it.
I don't think it's relevant. He can testify to what he saw, but when he left, how he left, or why he left.
Okay. I'll move on, Your Honor.
Pero en cuanto a cuándo se fue, cómo se fue y por qué se fue, para mí no tienen relevancia. Ella dice que va a seguir con otra pregunta.
Where did you go?
¿Usted a dónde fue?
Bueno, cuando pasó eso de los disparos, yo ya no podía pasar hasta mi apartamento.
Well, when that happened, when the shots were fired, I couldn't go through to go to my apartment.
Después que pasó eso, pues yo me puse muy nervioso, muy nervioso.
After that happened, I got real nervous. I was very nervous.
All right, the question was, I need him to answer the question. The question was, after the shooting, where did he go?
Entonces, responda solo a la pregunta. Y la pregunta es, después de los disparos, ¿a dónde fue usted?
Retrocedí mi carro
I backed my car up.
por el mismo camino que vine, me di la vuelta y entré por la otra entrada a los apartamentos.
And I went all the way back out the way I had come in, and I went to my apartment the other way around.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.
Nos podemos ellos acercar si van a hablar con la juez.
Mr. Medina, I just have a couple of other questions for you, and then I'll be done.
Señor Medina, solo tengo 2 o 3 preguntas más para usted y voy a terminar.
Ok, está bien.
Okay, that's good.
I am showing you what has been pre-marked as State's Exhibit number 13 for identification purposes only. Take a look at that and tell me if you recognize that, what's shown in that photograph.
Entonces le estoy mostrando lo que es artículo de prueba de cargo número 13. Mire esta foto y dígame si usted reconoce lo que ve en esta foto.
Sí,
Is that the scene at the Heights of Chamblee?
¿Esa es la escena de ahí en The Heights de Chamblee?
Sí,
Yes.
And is that the parking lot where this incident occurred? Is the parking lot shown in that photograph?
¿Y este es el parqueadero donde ocurrió este incidente? O sea, en la foto, ¿se ve el parqueadero?
claro, este es donde pasó el accidente, sí.
Yes, this is, of course, this is where the accident happened.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, the state seeks to introduce State's Exhibit number 13 into evidence.
Entonces quisiera admitir artículo de prueba número 13 como evidencia. ¿Hay alguna objeción?
Permission to publish.
Grant.
Permiso para publicarlo.
Ok.
Otorgado.
Mr. Medina, see that on your, can you see that photograph on your monitor?
Señor Medina, ¿usted alcanza a ver esta foto en su monitor?
Sí.
Yes.
And I'm gonna give you my highlighter again. Can you see, and there's a monitor behind you.
He can also mark,
Oh, that's right.
you just have to turn it off from the screen, but he can mark on the witness and it can erase. So it's gonna turn it.
Entonces él
Is it on your
tiene que
I believe so. I believe it's
que
oh, you know what?
apretar un botón para que usted pueda
You just have
hacer
to test
marcas
maybe
en
ask
esa
him to just tap
pantalla.
anywhere and then you can erase it.
If you touch that monitor in front of you, marking will appear. Can you just circle on that screen, on that photograph, where your vehicle was at the time you stopped it and observed Anthony running toward the officer? Where were you parked?
Entonces, si usted toca esa pantalla, va a salir una marca. Entonces, si usted puede hacer un círculo, una marca en la pantalla, en esa foto, para demostrar dónde estaba su carro cuando usted paró, que usted vio que Anthony empezó a correr hacia el policía.
Okay.
Más o menos por ahí.
More or less right here.
Is there a fire truck in that photograph?
¿Y hay un carro, un camión de bomberos en esa foto?
Sí.
Yes.
And when you were there, that fire truck was not at the scene, is that correct?
Entonces, cuando usted estaba ahí, ese camión de bomberos no estaba en la escena,
No.
¿cierto? No.
Because you left before the fire department and the medics responded, is that correct?
Porque usted partió antes de que llegaran los bomberos y la ambulancia, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
But that is where your Chevrolet Avalanche was at the time you witnessed the events.
Pero ahí es donde estaba su Chevrolet Avalanche, cuando usted fue testigo de los eventos.
Más o menos por ahí.
More or less right there.
And is that police patrol vehicle we see in the picture, was that the police officer, is that the police officer's vehicle?
¿Y ese patrullero que se ve en la foto, ese es el carro del policía?
Yo creo que sí.
I think so.
And is that where it was parked when you witnessed the events?
¿Y ahí es donde estaba estacionado cuando usted fue testigo de los eventos?
Yo creo que sí.
I think so, yes.
Thank you. If you touch that screen, if you touch it, it should clear that mark. Just
Sí,
touch the screen
vuelva
again.
a tocar la pantalla para borrar la
Oh, no, you know what? No, it won't. Hold on a second. You should change it. No. Well. Yeah, I'm putting it on the right side. Anyone hasn't figured out Your Honor, may I have a moment to confer?
Yes.
Me da un momento, su señoría, para hablar con mis colegas. Sí.
Your Honor, I have no further questions of this witness.
No tengo más preguntas para este testigo.
Can I use this podium?
¿Puedo usar este podio? Sí.
Mr. Medina, my name is Don Samuel. We've never met before, have we?
El señor Medina, mi nombre es Dan Samuels. Usted y yo no nos hemos conocido antes, ¿correcto?
Yo creo que no.
No, I don't think so.
We've never talked.
¿No hemos hablado nunca?
No.
No.
You previously testified at the grand jury. Do you recall that?
Usted anteriormente testificó delante del gran jurado. ¿Usted recuerda eso?
¿Dónde fue eso?
Where was that? No.
This building downstairs.
En este mismo edificio, pero en el piso de abajo.
There were many, many people in the
¿Más
room.
pequeño que esto?
Había mucha gente en el cuarto. Something smaller than this?
Correct.
Correcto.
Creo que sí.
I think so, yes.
You remember that? You testified there, you raised your right hand, and you swore to tell the truth there too, correct?
¿Usted recuerda eso? ¿Usted levantó su mano derecha, juró que iba a decir la verdad? ¿Usted recuerda todo eso?
Creo que sí, mucho tiempo seguro.
I think so. It was a long time ago.
It was. And then you also went to Ms. Palmer's office at one point, correct?
Y usted también fue a la oficina de la señora Palmer. ¿Se acuerda de eso?
¿En DeKalb? ¿En Buckhead?
En DeKalb and Buckhead?
That's right.
Correcto.
Okay.
And there were
Okay.
many lawyers in the room there, correct?
Y había muchos abogados en el cuarto allí, ¿correcto? Yes.
And all the lawyers were allowed to ask you questions there, correct?
Y todos los abogados tenían permitido hacerle preguntas ahí, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
And you answered many of the same questions there that you answered here, correct?
Y usted contestó muchas de las mismas preguntas ese día que está contestando hoy día, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
You knew Anthony Hill just by sight, correct? You'd seen him around the apartment complex before, correct?
Usted lo conocía, Anthony Hall, solo por vista, o sea que lo había visto en el complejo de apartamentos, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
But you did not know him well.
Pero usted no lo conocía muy bien.
No, muy bien.
Not very well, no.
You have kids and who live with you at the Shelby Heights apartments, correct?
Usted tiene niños que vivían con usted en los apartamentos de Heights de Chambly.
Sí.
Yes.
And there's a park and a playground where the kids play, correct?
Y hay un parque y hay juegos donde juegan los niños, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
On March 9th, you showed on the chart over there, State's Exhibit 10, I'm not going to go through it again, coming down Chambly Tucker Road and turning into the apartment complex, right?
Entonces usted marcó aquí en el mapa que el 9 de marzo, no lo voy a volver a marcar otra vez, pero que usted venía por Chambly Tucker Road y usted dobló para entrar a los apartamentos, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
The policeman did not have a siren on.
El policía no llevaba la sirena puesta.
No.
No.
Blue lights were not flashing.
No había prendido las luces azules.
No.
No.
And he was driving slowly.
Estaba manejando lentamente.
Sí.
Yes.
And he drove around, as you showed, kind of perpendicular to Chambly Tucker Road and then made the turn to now be facing where Anthony Hill was, correct?
Entonces él manejó como usted mostró, así como perpendicular a Chambly Tucker Road, entró por los apartamentos y dio esa vuelta por la curva en U, como usted mostró, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
And you pulled behind him, and you also were obviously driving very slowly, correct?
Entonces usted iba detrás de él y usted también estaba manejando lentamente, obviamente, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
The officer was not speaking through the loudspeaker system in the car, correct?
La gente no estaba hablando por el parlante, el altavoz del carro, ¿cierto?
No.
No.
And your car window, your is it an SUV or a pickup? What were you driving? I don't know what an avalanche is. What is
Yo no
an
sé lo
avalanche?
que es una avalanche, es una camioneta, una pickup, una minivan, ¿qué es?
Es una camioneta.
It's a truck.
Truck. And the windows were open.
¿Y tenía las ventanillas abiertas usted?
Yo creo que sí, porque es un buen clima, eso es marzo.
I think so, because it was March, probably just, good weather.
Right. And you could hear what was going on outside.
Y usted podía escuchar lo que estaba pasando fuera de su carro.
Claro.
Of course.
And as you came around the corner, you also knew Mr. Hill was crouched down in the parking lot. You said 80 to 100 feet away, is that right?
Entonces usted, cuando usted hizo esa vuelta, bueno, usted ya sabía que Anthony Hall estaba acuclillado en el parqueadero. Usted dice como a 80, 90 pies, ¿correcto?
Sí, las medidas podrían variar, ¿no? Exactamente no sé, pero sí estaba más o menos en cuclillas.
Yes, and I mean, the measurements could be
Understood.
off, but yes, more or less.
Understood. You didn't go out there with a tape measure and mark it off, right?
Usted no fue con una cinta a medirlo ni nada así, ¿correcto?
Exacto.
Exactly.
And Officer Olsen, you don't know him, but the policeman gradually came to a stop, correct?
Entonces el agente Olsen, bueno, usted no lo conoce al policía, pero poco a poco paró del todo, ¿correcto?
Exacto.
Exactly.
I assume it's safe to say you didn't know what the officer had been told by his dispatcher, correct?
Entonces sería correcto decir que usted no sabía qué le habían dicho, o sea, qué le había dicho la operadora al agente de policía, ¿correcto?
Claro.
Of course.
You didn't know anything about any 911 calls that had prompted the policeman to go there either, did you?
Usted no sabía tampoco nada de las llamadas del 911 que habían traído al policía a ese sitio, ¿cierto?
Exacto, no sabía nada.
Exactly, I didn't know anything.
Right. You didn't know what the officer knew at that point, correct?
En ese momento usted no sabía qué es lo que sabía el agente de policía, ¿correcto? Exactly.
You knew that Anthony Hill lived in the apartment complex there, right?
Usted sabía que Anthony Hill vivía en ese complejo de apartamentos, ¿correcto?
Sí.
Yes.
When the officer pulled his car to a stop, did you see the two maintenance people, Mr. Castillo and Mr. Echeverria?
Cuando el policía paró su carro, ¿usted alcanzaba a ver a los dos señores de manutención, el señor Echevarría y el señor Medina?
No los vi.
¿Cómo?
Vi mucha gente, pero no sé.
No, I
exactamente
didn't.
ellos.
I saw lots of people, but I couldn't distinguish them, no.
And as Ms. Thomas said, they were on the back side. They would have been seeing, their view would have been seeing Hill, where you saw people in general, running past, and then they would have seen everything from the back, correct? From Mr. Hill's back.
Entonces, donde estaba esa gente, donde estaban ellos y en general donde estaba la gente, era al fondo, era para el otro lado. O sea que ellos hubieran visto al señor Hall pasarlos a ellos y después le hubieran visto a él de espaldas, ¿correcto?
Había mucha gente de los apartamentos por la parte donde dejan los sobres de correo, esas cosas.
There was lots of people from the apartments where they leave the mail and that stuff.
Okay. Did anybody have the same vantage point, the same perspective that you had, which was from behind the police officer watching Mr. Hill approach?
¿Había alguna otra persona que tenía una vista o sea, que tenía su punto de vista, que podía ver al policía por detrás, o sea, que veían a Anthony Hill acercarse de frente? ¿Había alguna otra persona de ese lado?
Creo que yo fui el único que estuvo atrás del policía.
I think I was the only one behind the policeman.
Okay. At no time did you ever see the policeman going towards Mr. Hill?
¿Y usted en ningún momento observó que el policía se le iba acercando hacia Anthony Hill.
Había una distancia entre el carro de policía y Anthony como de 90 pies.
Well, there was a distance between Anthony and the police car of about 80 or 90 feet.
Right. And then Mr. Hill started coming towards the policeman.
Y después el señor Hill empezó a venir hacia el policía. The
Exacto.
policeman, yes, exactly.
The policeman obviously wasn't running towards Mr. Hill, right?
Obvio que el policía no estaba corriendo hacia el señor Hill, ¿correcto?
No.
No,
He
no,
wasn't
no.
chasing Mr. Hill.
Él no estaba corriendo detrás del señor Hill.
No.
No.
He got out of his car and he drew his weapon, correct?
Él se bajó de su carro, sacó su arma, ¿cierto? ¿Correcto?
Exacto.
And he
Exactly.
And he drew the weapon while Mr. Hill was running, starting about whatever this distance was, 80 to 100 feet away, right?
Y él sacó su arma en el momento que el señor Hill empezó a correr, ya sea 80, 90, 100 pies, ¿correcto?
Claro, sí.
Of course, yes.
Of course. And you could see this because the pickup truck that you were driving is taller than the police car, so you could see over it and see what's happening, correct?
Entonces usted alcanzó a ver todo esto porque su camioneta era más alto que el carro de la policía y usted puede ver por encima de él todo lo que está sucediendo, ¿correcto?
Exacto.
Exactly.
And when the officer, you don't know him, gets out of the car, he's to the left of the police car, right, on the driver's side.
Entonces cuando se baja el agente, bueno, que usted no sabe quién es, no lo conoce, pero él está del lado izquierdo de su carro, o sea, del lado del chofer, ¿correcto?
Claro.
Of course.
Yeah. And Mr. Hill is running towards him.
Y el señor Hill está corriendo hacia él.
Sí.
Yes.
And you had no problem hearing the officer yelling, you used the word yelling before, stop, stop, right?
Y usted no tuvo ningún inconveniente, ningún problema en poder escuchar al policía que gritó, y usted mismo usó la palabra gritó, pare, pare, ¿correcto?
Exacto.
Exactly.
It was yelling.
O sea, estaba gritando.
Dos veces dijo stop, stop.
Yes, 2 times he said stop, stop.
And he was pointing the gun also,
Y
wasn't he?
estaba apuntando con el arma también, ¿cierto?
Sí.
Yes.
And Mr. Hill did not stop.
Y el señor Hill no paró.
No paró 100%.
He didn't stop 100%.
When you testified previously, you were asked how long it took, how many seconds it took that Mr. Hill was running.
Entonces, cuando usted lo entrevistaron previamente, a usted le preguntaron cuánto tiempo se demoró, cuántos segundos estaba corriendo el señor Hill.
Do you recall being asked that?
¿Usted recuerda que le preguntaron eso?
Me han hecho tantas preguntas que algunas ya no ni recuerdo.
I've been asked so many questions that really I don't remember anymore.
Okay. Page 20. Can you read English?
¿Usted puede leer en inglés?
No.
Okay.
No.
You know, I'm going to show the interpreter. I'm on lines 7 and 12, essentially. Can you translate for him? Both the question and the answer quietly.
7.
Just tell them that's doing the process.
Yeah, just quietly.
Aquí, ¿qué es eso?
that refresh your recollection about what you said when you testified under oath previously?
¿Eso le refresca su memoria acerca de lo
Ok,
que testificó bajo juramento
Sí.
anteriormente? Yes, yes.
Now, I understand you didn't have a tape measure to measure the 80 to 100 feet. You didn't have a stopwatch to time the running either, correct?
Entonces yo entiendo que usted no tenía un metro para medir la distancia, ni tampoco un reloj para medir los segundos, ¿correcto?
Exacto.
So what-
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
Exactly.
So what was your estimate of how long the running took for Mr. Hill to run from where he was until he got up close to the officer?
Entonces, ¿cuál fue su estimado de cuánto tiempo se demoró el señor Hill corriendo hasta que llegara a donde la policía?
Alrededor de 10 segundos.
Around 10 seconds.
Okay? And am I correct that he was running the entire time?
¿Y es correcto de que él estaba corriendo todo el tiempo?
Sí, estuvo corriendo un tiempo.
Yes, he was running the whole time.
He never slowed down to a walk, did he?
Él nunca bajó la velocidad a solo caminar, ¿correcto?
No, a solo caminar no.
So, just walking, no.
Okay. He was always running until the shots were fired, correct?
Entonces, él siempre se mantuvo corriendo hasta que se hizo el tiro, bueno, los tiros, ¿correcto?
Exacto.
Exactly.
It wasn't a slow jog.
No era un trote lento.
Corrió rápido cuando él comenzó a correr, pero un poco más despacio cuando ya se estaba acercando hacia el policía.
He started out running fast, and then as he got closer to the policeman, he ran slower.
But still running.
Pero de todas formas todavía estaba corriendo.
Sí.
Yes.
The officer started backing up, did he not?
El agente empezó a retroceder, ¿cierto?
Un poco.
A little bit.
And Mr. Hill kept running.
Y el señor Hill continuó corriendo.
Exacto.
Exactly.
At no time did the officer move forward towards Mr. Hill. It was the opposite way around, correct?
En ningún momento el agente se movió o se acercó hacia el señor Hill. Siempre fue lo contrario, ¿correcto?
Exacto.
Exactly.
From your vantage point, it was absolutely clear that Mr. Hill could see the gun.
Desde su punto de vista donde estaba usted, queda completamente claro que el señor Hill hubiera podido ver el arma.
Sí.
Yes.
And from your vantage point, with the window open, you could hear this yelling, stop, correct?
Y de donde estaba usted, con su ventanilla abierta, usted pudo escuchar cuando gritó, pare, pare. ¿Es correcto?
Exacto.
Exactly.
He did not stop.
Y no paró.
No al 100%.
Not 100%.
Did you ever see Mr. Hill put his hands up over his head?
¿Usted en algún momento lo vio al señor Hill poner sus manos así por encima de la cabeza?
No.
No.
Él corría desorientadamente.
He was running kind of disoriented.
But he never put his hands up like that, did he?
Pero él nunca subió sus manos así, ¿cierto?
No.
No.
He was running with his arms outstretched, correct?
Estaba corriendo con sus manos así de lado, ¿correcto?
Desorientadamente.
Disoriented.
Right. But not in the, what might be described as a surrender pose or anything like that,
Pero
correct?
no en un pose de lo que uno podría describir como que me rindo, ¿cierto?
No.
No.
And you had the same view, I'm sorry, Rosie. You had the same view, the same vantage point as the officer, correct?
Y usted tenía la misma vista, el mismo punto de vista de que hubiera tenido el policía, ¿cierto?
Se podría decir que sí.
You could say that, yes.
You never heard Mr. Hill say anything really at all that day, did you?
Usted nunca lo escuchó al señor Hill decir nada ese día, ¿cierto?
No.
No.
You didn't hear him say, help me, anything like that to
Usted
the
no.
officer as he's running?
Usted no lo escuchó decir, por ejemplo, ayúdenme, ayúdenme al policía mientras estaba corriendo.
No.
No,
You didn't hear him say anything like, I just want to talk to you?
no lo escuchó decir nada como solo quiero hablar con usted.
No.
No,
You didn't hear him say anything at all?
usted no lo escuchó decir nada.
Exacto.
Exactly.
I think that's all the questions I had, and I'm looking for the clock to make sure that's all the
Creo
questions.
que esas son todas mis preguntas. Estoy buscando el reloj para ver si es la hora.
Thank you.
No redirect.
All right, may this witness be excused?
Entonces se puede, este testigo se puede retirar, sí.
Could be excused or
Si queda, si se puede retirar solo por hoy o ya el resto del juicio. No le entendí la respuesta.
Ms. Medina, thank you very much. You are free to go. Have a good weekend.